and welcome to MoviePod, the podcast about movies. This is going to be my first true recap episode. This week, I'm going to be going through major July theatrical releases, as well as a couple movies I saw at TIFF that recently went wide. I'm not going to go through absolutely everything that came out in July. I'm also going to ignore streaming movies. But if you do want to see the worst movie of 2025, go on Amazon Prime and check out The War of the Worlds with Ice Cube. It is fucking atrocious. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about some July releases. So first off, we get the worst theatrical release I've seen this year, which is Jurassic Park 7, Jurassic World Rebirth, Gareth Edwards joint. It has Scarlett Johansson, Jonathan Bailey, Mahershala Ali, and Rupert Friend, and it has the D-Rex. Everyone wants to see more dinosaurs in movies, right? So they invented dinosaurs called the D-Rex. It's boring and ugly, just like the movie. So the problem with the Jurassic World movies is that, and Jurassic Park in general, is that they made one good movie back in 1993. Spielberg couldn't even fully crack a sequel himself. That Lost World movie kind of falls apart when they leave the island. And it's been atrocious ever since. It's insane that you cannot make a movie about dinosaurs that just seems interesting. The Jurassic World movies, the problem with them is that they expanded the world in the least interesting way possible. And this one continues that too. A fatal flaw with those Jurassic World movies is that they truly try to suggest a world where people are bored of dinosaurs. And I'm sorry, we're not bored of pandas. I see people posting photos of their cats all the time online. People are not going to get bored of dinosaurs. I don't know, people go see donkeys at donkey sanctuaries. Why would someone get bored of dinosaurs within the 30 years of them coming back? People are still obsessed with dinosaurs to the point that people are seeing shitty-ass Jurassic Park movies 3 decades later. It's just such a bad premise, and the sins of the Jurassic World trilogy kind of still stain the soul of this franchise. And, for a movie called Rebirth, there's a chance for it to be kind of something different, something better, but it's not. It's boring. And that's the biggest problem with it, is that it's not exciting at all. It's about the team of the friendliest mercenaries to ever live. So we get Scarlett Johansson and Mahershala Ali, who are hired by Rupert Friend to go to Dinosaur Island to... It's like a video game quest. You gotta get 3 objects of dinosaur DNA so they can bring them back and they can turn that dinosaur DNA into a cure for heart disease. Cool, exciting, very riveting. And there's also another plotline too, where you get a family. There's a divorced dad and his 2 daughters, and the older daughter's fuckboy boyfriend named Xavier, who shipwreck around where mercenaries are going. And then they separate for the rest of the movie, and then there's 2 movies involved. You get a really boring movie with a bunch of mercenaries extracting dinosaur DNA from things, and you get really boring about a family just nearly escaping dinosaurs all the time while learning mutual respect between Xavier and the father. Xavier fucking sucks. I don't think I can really show off how awful this character is. It's just a generic fuckboy, and there's just no life to this movie at all, and it's so silly too. If these Jurassic Park movies were trying to lean into horror a little bit and actually try to have some exciting, good kills, that would kind of be interesting. And they just don't do that. They chicken out a lot of kills here, and I think this movie has the worst kills of the franchise, which is a big problem. Another big problem with this movie too is it just looks terrible. The first half of the movie especially, there has real problems with lighting. Every actor's face is obscured and shadowed the whole time for no good reason. There's light sources in scenes, but I'm not sure what Gareth Edwards is thinking to just make it so you can't see actors express emotion. It's a problem with modern movies in general anyway, but usually Gareth Edwards is kind of good with this stuff. He just gets kind of lazy with it, and I feel it does look a bit better as it goes along. Some of the night sequences do look a little bit better, but it's just these movies cost a lot of money, they make a lot of money, put some effort into it. How does it compare to the Jurassic World trilogy? So, the Jurassic World trilogy, in my mind, is a total abomination. I truly believe that Colin Trevorrow is one of the biggest hacks working in Hollywood. He had full creative control over a franchise and just released something absolutely putrid. The difference between him and Gareth Edwards is that Colin Trevorrow at least tried to use iconography as a crutch because he has no talent as a filmmaker. So, with that, he would be hey, so here is, the dinosaur from the first movie, or the can of Barbasol spray from the first movie, and he would just throw it in the movie just so, have the audience point at it and recognize, hey, this is something I recognize from a movie I enjoyed before. Rebirth truly feels like the 7th installment of a bad franchise, in that It does try to have like the iconography of the original Jurassic Park movies, but it just kind of like, it kind of doesn't really know what to do with it. Every time they bring up a classic John Williams musical cue, it's at the wrong time, and it's kind of really, really embarrassing. It just made me really want to watch the original movie again, because the original movie is truly one of the best blockbusters like ever made, and they've never been able to crack a sequel. On Letterboxd, I gave Jurassic World Rebirth 1 star, and I'm sticking by that. It's truly a forgettable mess of a movie. And I remember when the movie ended, a bunch of 12-year-old boys started cheering in the audience, and I was like, come on, boys, get some higher standards. Like, there are better blockbusters out there. This could be better. I get seeing dinosaurs on the screen is exciting, but there's no reason a dinosaur movie has to be boring. That's the problem. Boring and just unimaginative. There's so much you can do with dinosaurs, and truly, we need to demand better of this franchise, and I don't think Gareth Edwards is the answer for directing more of these. I don't think Scarlett Johansson's character, Zora Bennett, what kind of name is that, is the answer for a protagonist going forward. It's rough, really rough stuff. Demand better, please. So another movie that came out like last week or so was Fantastic Four First Steps, directed by Matt Shakman. It's like the 59th movie of the MCU or something. So first off, I think a lot of the reasons why I have difficulties with Fantastic Four First Steps, first off, awful title. Second, the MCU as it is. My take on the MCU is not special in any way. I think what they did leading up to Avengers Endgame was actually pretty interesting and special. It was long-form storytelling in a movie franchise, which is a very, very hard thing to do. A lot of moving pieces, and right now there's too many moving pieces and no direction. I jumped off on the TV shows around She-Hulk, so I haven't watched anything since then. The one thing I will give Fantastic Four First Steps is it truly is a standalone movie. There's no connection to the MCU at all yet, other than the fact that you know who's going to make it because of that really, really dull Avengers Doomsday cast reveal where they show all the chairs of all the actors going to be in it. So you know who from this movie is going to be the next movie because they're unwilling to let suspense be a thing. So at the end of the day, this is probably by default the best Fantastic Four movie, just because they've never been able to figure this out. It's been pretty rough sailing for all these movies, and the very baseline mediocre Marvel slop is probably better than every Fantastic Four movie before this. So we have Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Ebon Moss-Bachrach, and Joseph Quinn as the Fantastic Four. They don't have much to do as actors, really. I think Ebon Moss-Bachrach did a pretty good job expressing himself underneath all that digital rock stuff. He has a lot of personality. And the other three just do not have much of personality. Joseph Quinn's Johnny Storm is completely reprehensible, a very obnoxious character, and I didn't really like watching him on screen whatsoever at all. And he is the one that actually drives a lot of the action, because this movie has a big problem where it does not really want the Fantastic Four actually interacting with supporting characters a lot. It's a very insular movie, which I think is a huge problem with the MCU, when the biggest part of these movies that's exciting is that you get to see Thor in a movie, and then you get to see, like, oh, how will Thor interact with, like, Nick Fury in a different movie? This movie doesn't really have them really interacting with anyone at all, and the problem with that is that, like, I don't know, like, I have no interest in Reed Richards actually interact with, like, I don't know, like, Captain Marvel or something, because they didn't really expand on the dynamic beyond what you already saw in the trailers. A big problem is they really waste Galactus as a villain. Galactus is supposed to be a really all-powerful thing, which is kind of not a great threat for a standard standalone movie. He's kind of a character that probably should have been a major focus for a team-up movie, especially because, when you're watching a movie, the stakes of it all is that you know how these movies are going to end. They end peacefully, good resolution. There's only ever been one movie that actually ends on a bit of a sour note, which is Avengers Infinity War. So having Galactus be this earth-eating threat, it kind of falls apart because you just know it's not going to really matter in the end. And that's the biggest problem with the MCU overall, is that, like, nothing ever feels like it matters. I think the biggest real flaw of the movie is that the actual plot of it is so really silly. What the actual dilemma is that they face as a Fantastic Four group against Galactus, it's silly when you think about it. It's hard to talk about without spoiling it, because the superhero stuff, just by the nature of them being superheroes, you gotta think of the Spock quote from Wrath of Khan. the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. And this one makes them come across as pretty damn selfish. I don't think they justify that as a team. I don't think they justify that as a movie. And it honestly, after Fantastic Four First Steps, I do not have any interest in seeing the Fantastic Four interact or be in any future movies. I gave this movie 2.5 stars in Letterboxd. It's just fine. I don't like how it looks. They never figured out Reed Richards' stretchy abilities at all, how they can look visually impressive. They look really, really atrocious in this. And it looks like it's a blurry movie. I will say there's a couple of interesting scenes with Silver Surfer and Galactus visually, but it's typical MCU fodder. They just had an interesting aesthetic going for it. But the aesthetic is poorly lit and poorly colored. I don't think it's going to sway any people to actually enjoy the MCU again. And even though we're like a movie or two away from Avengers Doomsday, I have no idea what the hell that movie's going to look like because they have done a really atrocious job setting it up. They have the blueprint, they made it themselves on how to actually set up a big team-up movie, and they're just floundering it right now. It's just fine. Don't rush out to see it. I want to go a bit more positive now. So, one of my favorite things I saw at TIFF last year was Mike Flanagan's Life of Chuck. It's based on the Stephen King novella. It's a non-horror Stephen King. So it's kind of the same vein as like Stand By Me, Shawshank Redemption, Green Mile. The Life of Chuck won the audience prize at TIFF, and I think it truly deserved it. I find the term life-affirming to be very corny, but that's probably the best way to describe it. It is a very, very optimistic movie. There's a big speech that Mark Hamill has in the movie about like living an ordinary good life that I still think about to this day, this many months later. I think it has a lot of great performances in it. It's an ensemble piece. It's kind of hard to say what Life of Chuck is about without spoiling it, but the easiest way to describe it is that it is about a guy named Chuck, and his story is being told in reverse order through 3 chapters of his life, starting with the end of his life, middle of his life, beginning of his life. It's about living a life and being able to share a life with people, and it's hokey, it's saccharine. I found it to be a very, very lovely movie. It's been since September since I've seen it, and it's been a movie it's been on my mind a lot. On Letterboxd, I gave Life of Chuck 5 stars. So another movie I saw at TIFF was Don't Let's Go to the Dogs Tonight. Bit of a tongue twister of a title. So Don't Let's Go to the Dogs Tonight. It's based on a memoir by Alexander Fuller. It's about a family of white farmers in Rhodesia after the Rhodesian Bush War. It's from the eyes of a young girl as her family and the other white people in her community are getting booted from the country during a political and social upheaval. And so it's from the perspective of a kid. And the kid's played by a newcomer named Lexi Venter, and she is phenomenal. It is truly like one of those great kid performances where it captures the innocence of a kid and the curiosity of a kid and the ignorance of a kid. And the curiosity and the ignorance is what makes this white focus look at Rhodesia absolutely fascinating, because it's not their home. It's not culturally their place at all. They are settlers that do not belong there. And the young girl, Lexi Venter, plays Bobo. The way that she interacts with the locals too, where she is very confused about how they are African, but she is not African despite spending her whole life in Africa. I found it to be a very fascinating dynamic, and when it comes to covering a movie focused on white people in Africa, you get a lot of problems being a white savior movie or a pretty ignorant movie. It's not afraid to paint its protagonist in a very murky gray light. For a directorial debut from M. Beth Davids, I thought it was a very well made movie. I'm really curious to see what she does next as a director, because she stars in this movie as the mother and does double duty as the director. And I think she makes some very, very interesting stylistic choices and very interesting narrative choices. So Don't Let's Go to the Dogs Tonight, I gave 4 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. I would really recommend it. It's going to be a completely underseen movie. Probably won't make a big splash for award season at all. So when it pops up on streaming, I would definitely check it out. So I talked about how stale I found Fantastic Four and the MCU in general, which made Superman really stand out. I thought James Gunn's Superman was a really, really refreshing movie. I'm really glad that DC rebooted itself, because that DCEU had Zack Snyder stink all over it. It had a complete problem with tone, because it starts off too bitter, it stays bitter, and then try to do a hard adjustment to be kind of more upbeat. It just never really worked. I had an absolute blast watching Superman. It has a much lighter tone. It's a goofier tone, which really fits what the material is. I think it does a better job of how I think Superman should be portrayed in movies, which is kind of, a beacon of hope. Not just a guy who like punches and murders people like those Zack Snyder ones. And the biggest thing, it solves a major problem I have with like pretty much every single superhero movie of the 21st century, probably the Sam Raimi movies excluded, is that it's about a hero wanting to save people because it's the right thing to do, because they're people of empathy. There's I don't want to spoil Superman at all, but there's this one scene in Superman where during a big fight with a monster, he makes a point to save a squirrel's life. And it's because Superman believes in saving people, because he's a nice person and believes in the value of a life, and that's just what he's all about. And this movie really dives down to like what makes Superman tick, and if it's nature and nurture about why he wants to save people, what drives him to be a hero. And the problem with like the MCU and other superhero movies in general is that they do truly have an empathy problem where they're not really saving people's lives because they really want to. It's almost like, well, you got powers, you gotta do something, right? And with these movies, like, you don't really see Spider-Man saving lives anymore because he wants to. His big thing is like, I want to go into space and like fight Thanos, or like I want to destroy reality so I can get my friends into college. And this one is like, in Superman's mind, he would rather save people's lives than anything else. That's his big thing. That's what makes him tick. And too many superhero movies just talk about saving people because that's what they're supposed to do. That's what's expected. That's what we, the audience, want them to do because it's basic plot mechanics. Pretty much every superhero movie now has like 40 separate 9/11 sized events happening at once. And they're trying to really like up the stakes and how much you're supposed to care about them because, oh, like the planet's in danger because of Galactus. But it's hard to really latch on and care about when the size is too much. When it comes down to saving a squirrel, making a scene about saving a squirrel's life, it feels a lot more personal, a lot more relatable. And it dives into what makes a hero a hero. What makes this one a lot more interesting for me is that Superman has this one philosophy of being a hero that's radically different from other heroes. Not to spoil much, but Hawkgirl does something in this movie that like really contrasts something that Superman would never do. And it makes me really excited to see what James Gunn expands this DC universe to do, because not everyone's going to be like Superman in the way they save lives. Some people are going to be a lot more brash. Some people are going to be a lot more heroic than others. And if this universe can truly just capture multiple tones at once and not just be homogenized, every kind of movie feels the exact same, I think this can truly be an exciting universe of movies. And I'm the most skeptical person when it comes to cinematic universes. I'm very cynical about the matter. It seems more like a cash grab than anything creative. And I think James Gunn just laid the groundwork right. It's a busy movie. There's a lot of characters in it. And I think he does a good job of balancing overall. What helps is the movie's light on cameos. Like, everyone feels like a character that's meant to exist within the realm of the Superman movie. It doesn't feel like everyone's in this movie to set up a future movie, which is very, very, very nice. I think that a lot of blockbusters are too cynical now. And even when they try to be optimistic, it's not authentic. It's coming from a place where a movie's made by committee. It's made for all quadrants, made for everyone around the world. Nothing really bold to say at all. I think Superman does a great job because it feels like a James Gunn movie. It's why those Guardians of the Galaxy movies are like the best movies of the MCU, because it actually feels like a filmmaker made them and it wasn't just made in a boardroom. Superman as a movie is also surprisingly political as well, in a way that actually feels like it's trying to say something, rather than it's like, Captain America Brave New World, where like, what if the president was a Red Hulk? I feel like this movie actually is a bit deeper than that. Superman is my favorite blockbuster of the year so far. I was really impressed by it. I gave Superman 4 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. And, oh right, I forgot to write notes down on this, so this one will probably be pretty quick. So, Ari Aster's new movie, Eddington. Eddington takes place in May of 2020, when COVID's really rearing its head. Takes place in a small Mexican town called Eddington, where Pedro Pascal plays the mayor and Joaquin Phoenix plays the sheriff. So Joaquin Phoenix's character, he is very much I don't believe in masks. COVID's not as big of a deal as I think other people are. Pedro Pascal plays the mayor who believes that COVID is kind of a big deal. We should kind of work together as a community to kind of stop the spread and shit. I think Eddington gets right is it gets the anxiety of living in 2020 correct. It has everything from Black Lives Matter protests to people going down rabbit holes on the internet, people calling everyone pedophile all the time. It's 2020, the movie. I think Eddington is as deep as an episode of South Park. It tries to be too centrist, and with that, I don't find it to be an interesting political movie to even think about, really. At one point, it has a bit of a bold narrative leap, but then it kind of dives into a conspiracy angle to kind of make the other side seem just as not evil per se, but just as controversial as the other side. And I just think it never really goes deep in any interesting manner. Eddington is really just a movie that is just rehashing every argument you've had with a racist uncle on Facebook and a vegan cousin on Twitter. And it does not really do anything deeper than that. There are a couple of interesting visual choices in it, but narratively it completely misses the mark. And I do love Hereditary and I do love Midsommar. I absolutely hated Beau Was Afraid. Eddington was just fine. Bit more negative than positive about it overall, but there's a reason why I forgot to even do notes about it for this episode, because I truly do not think about the movie as much as I wish I did. At the end of the day, I just do not really think about Eddington at all. I just think it's a mediocre movie. So yeah, I gave Eddington 2.5 stars on Letterboxd. Yeah, so that's it for the movies I'm going to be talking about this week. I realized in the very first kind of pilot episode I did there, I didn't talk about a single movie at all except for Jackass. So kind of want to talk a little bit more of my thoughts on movies in general. I have some guests lined up already for future episodes. Hopefully it won't be just me or here. I can bounce some ideas off of other people. But right now I'm going to crack open the mailbag a little bit. So first off, I'd like to thank Dave for reaching out to me and giving me some feedback on the podcast and giving me some tips. Go here on Beavers. And I got another email here that I will read out now. This is from Ryan. Hi, movie peepers. First time caller, long time listener. I recently watched Beetlejuice 2 and felt sad about how flat and bland many of the sets were, especially the church interior for the finale. Why is lighting so bad now? To make digital touch-ups easy, all the best key grips died in a knife fight on the Paramount backlot. I'll take your thoughts on that and recommendations for new movies that look good. Love, Ryan. Thanks a lot for the email, buddy. You're right about digital touch-ups being easier when movies are kind of like flat looking. Yeah, so you're right. Beetlejuice 2 does look pretty bland. It's a pretty bland, forgettable movie overall. You also got to remember that Tim Burton has not made a visually exciting movie in about 2 decades now. So he's kind of lost the juice overall as a director. Yeah, so I've read a couple of reasons why movies look the way they do now. A lot of it is digital photography. It makes it easier to kind of tweak things in post-production, change things around a lot. Also, I'm going to stop myself right now and say that I don't know all the technical details a lot. I've read stuff about it, so I might be wrong on these matters. There might be something I'm clearly missing about how like movies are made that for some reason movies in 2025 can't look as good as the shittiest movie in 1987. This is just my speculation on the matter. One big difference between movies now and movies back in like the 20th century is that digital photography is a lot cheaper than film. So when movies were shot on film, which like pretty much everything was in the 20th century, is that film stock was expensive. So if you fucked up a shot, it would cost a lot of money to start over again. So you had to get a scene lit right the first time, because if you didn't do it right the first time, then you're wasting money, you're wasting time. With filming movies digitally, it's a lot easier to reset a shot. You don't have to worry about wasting film stock. It's cheaper, it's easier, and you can do a lot more things with post-production work. Some directors like Michael Mann are really good at digital photography and taking advantage of the format. The way that Michael Mann is able to take urban environments that are dimly lit and make them look very vibrant and real is absolutely incredible. Sean Baker with Tangerine is another great example as well. The lo-fi work he did on the iPhone 4S for shooting that movie looks absolutely incredible. Another reason why movies look different than they used to is this new trend where unmotivated lighting is not as big of a deal. So motivated lighting means that the light source is within the realm of the movie. So let's say you have a character who's locked in like a dark cellar. So even in that dark cellar, a lot of movies will have some light there that will show like the actor being able to express themselves, and you can see what they're doing despite the fact there's no light source within the scene. Because the focus is on getting a performance of the actor rather than focusing on realism. A big trend now is unmotivated lighting. So movies will have scenes that are lit dimly or not at all, and to kind of make it feel a bit more realistic. And that realism can look really, really interesting and good sometimes. Sometimes it makes it so you can't see anything at all. And the problem with this trend is that I think it's an awful trend, truly. I think conveying what's going on in a scene is more important than anything else. Like, that's literally what a visual medium is about. You should be able to tell what's going on. I think it truly is a problem in movies like Wicked, where Elphaba, you can't see what she's expressing on her face because the scene's too dark and they're not lighting her properly. Like, this wasn't a problem in movies back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and it became a problem in the past decade or so because a focus on realism, putting less emphasis on lighting actors, lighting sets, lighting scenes. And it's a travesty because why put all the effort into making a movie if you're not going to make it legible for the audience? That should be the key thing how movies should work, is it should be, the audience should be able to watch a movie and know what's going on. I think it's a massive problem with movies, and I hopefully it trends the other direction, and movies have put more of an emphasis on just showing off what they have. Show off what you have, just light it well, and have it not be a thing that sticks out like a sore thumb. Lighting in a movie is only noticeable if it's bad, and it's been pretty bad recently. But on a positive note, some good movies that actually look really damn good from this year. I'll give you a couple that looked absolutely fantastic. So I think the best movie of this year, full out, and the best looking movie has been Sinners, Ryan Coogler vampire movie with Michael B. Jordan and Haley Steinfeld. Ryan Coogler is able to get actors with different skin tones to all look visible and expressive in very dark looking scenes. So it is something you can do in movies, and he put the effort and care into doing it. It's a visually spectacular movie. Can't recommend Sinners enough. It's my movie of the year by far. I think it's Ryan Coogler's best movie, and I hope it makes a splash at award season. I think it'll get some nominations at least. The other movie that really stands out to me as looking absolutely incredible this year is 28 Years Later from Danny Boyle. 28 Years Later is mostly shot on an iPhone 15 Pro, which is absolutely incredible. And because he's shooting in on an iPhone, which is pretty portable, he can go to weird places in the countryside of England to get some really interesting shots. And I think there's the versatility of digital. He does incredibly well. There's not a scene in 28 Days Later where you cannot tell what's going on. And there are a lot of dark looking scenes in the movie. He does some very impressive, cool work too with slow motion infrared. And it's a visually spectacular looking film. He got incredibly creative as a director for the movie and how it looks. I've never seen a movie look like that for certain scenes. And like a lot of movies do look good. Like I saw smaller movies like Materialist, Sorry Babe. They look good. They're well lit and stuff, but I think truly the problem with like movies that have problems with their lighting are, big blockbusters and genre movies where there's too many moving parts and they just don't really focus on that stuff at all. There's a lot of movies that look totally fine. Like F1 looked fine. I didn't have any problems with Megan 2.0 and how that looked. And for me, it's just the movies that don't look good, the movies you can't tell what's going on. It's like, why are you putting all this effort in and just not letting us see what's going on? Like, come on, throw us a bone here. Yeah, so that's all we got in the mailbag this week. So keep the mail coming in. Send an email to moviepodmailbag@gmail.com and let's get some more content from me. So just send stuff my way. I got a couple things cooking with a guest. I'm not sure if that's going to be next week or the week after. Next week is either going to be a full episode of an individual movie or it's going to be a recap of other summer movies that came out this year. Thank you for joining me so far on this journey. And I'm excited to see where this all goes. You can also find me on Twitter and Blue Sky @BWishart. And yeah, until next time, this has been MoviePod. Thank you. Take care.